If you're a Christian, you want to be salt and light in the world. You want to make a difference. You want to be an avenue through which God can work in society today. And that's wonderful. And I really think that one of the best opportunities that Christians have today to be salt and light is just by being reasonable people, knowing how to have a conversation. In a culture where people are just insane in how they're unable to just talk to one another, Christians will really stand out and be able to effectively communicate the truth of the gospel just by learning to have good conversations. And yet in these conversations, there's a big mistake that Christians make, and it ends up with them getting crushed because of it. So here's what happens. You're at work, your good friend Steve says, "Hey, you're a Christian, right?" You say, "Sure I am, what's up?" He says, how can you be a Christian in today's world? Hasn't evolution proven that the Bible is wrong? Now here's how most Christians respond. They feel like, oh man, this is my one shot to prove that I know what I'm talking about. So they just wing it. They try to prove right off the cuff that the evidence for evolution doesn't disprove Christianity. Now what I want to suggest is that that is a major, major mistake. What you need to do is go buy a copy of Greg Koukl's book, Tactics. But in the meantime, since you're here, I'll tell you what he says. Every single time someone tries to disprove Christianity or undermine your faith, always, 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 always have these two questions in your back pocket. What do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? So, what do you mean by that? Ask them to define what they mean. So you think evolution disproves the Bible? What do you mean? What do you mean by disprove? What do you mean by evolution? What does it mean for the Bible to be disproven? All of it? Just a part of it? And then question 2, how did you come to that conclusion? After he explains what he means, ask him to explain why he believes what he believes. Don't let the other person just steamroll you and put you on the defensive all the time. Ask him, okay, so you think that if evolution is true, that would show that the Bible is false, since the Bible says evolution is false. So they've explained what they mean. Then ask them, okay, first of all, how do you know that evolution is true? How did you come to believe that? And how confident are you that the Bible teaches evolution has to be false? Now, even if you agree with him on some points, make him do some work. Don't just be a punching bag. That is fundamentally the biggest mistake that Christians make. They are way too defensive. Get on the offensive. Now, don't be offensive, as in being rude, but offensive, as in making the other person defend what they're saying. This is the essence of rational discourse. I clearly tell you what I think. I tell you why I think it is true. Then I listen to what you think and why you think it's true. And then we can discuss from there. Don't let the other person walk all over you. Put the burden of proof back on them from time to time. So commit these two questions to memory. These questions are so important. The first one is asking, what do you mean by that? It's looking for definitions. The second one, how did you come to that conclusion? Is putting the burden of proof back on them. And I have a final tool here that will really help with your conversations. And that's just to test the claim on itself. Apologist Frank Turek says this is the most important thinking skill in apologetics. And it's so important for detecting falsehood. We can go wrong in a lot of different ways. And what you need to do is to be able to question the assumptions or foundations of what people are saying by turning the claim on itself. Almost all atheistic claims are self-defeating. Well, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of the popular ones are. They try to exempt themselves from their own theories. So let me show you what I mean. So you'll hear someone say to you, it is wrong to impose your belief on others. Isn't that imposing your belief about imposing belief on others? Or only what can be proven by science is true. Well, is that test for knowledge that you just gave me, is that provable by science? Or someone will say, our religious beliefs are culturally relative. If you were born in the Middle East, you would most likely be a Muslim, not a Christian. Well, if you were born in the Middle East, would you still believe that religious beliefs are culturally relative? Wouldn't you also most likely be a Muslim who didn't think that it's just culturally relative? Basically, if someone says something that feels sketchy, test the claim on itself. It's most likely self-destructive. So again, what do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? And test the claim on itself. That's all for today, folks.